Hi everybody, welcome back to the Slypatch Podcast. I'm Digital Chimera, you can call me Spencer.
And I'm the captain, you can call me Tyler.
And it's time to
Ready Up. So something we're going to do a little different in this week's Ready Up that we've realized in past episodes is we want to give you a real background of what the subject is we're talking about today. So today's subject is the generality and the all-encompassing factor of being a nerd or a geek, right? It's like...
Yeah, what nerd actually means and how it applies.
Yeah, and how it applies to so many different things, because as you talked about before the episode here that we were talking about, it's like people, you say a nerd, and you automatically think of like this small encapsulated like, video games or, Magic the Gathering players or whatever, but it's like we got so many things that we have, and so again, the definition, by at least Google's standards. And this is the verb, of it, not the noun, but, to be or become extremely excited or enthusiastic about a subject, typically one of specialist or minority interest. And then, they use it in a sentence. So it's like, it's my one time of the year to really nerd out with my G.I. Joe collector friends. That's the thing, is like people collect toys and stuff. There's so many things that we're all very enthusiastic about, things that we just love. And you can be a nerd, in those things. And, so that's like the textbook definition. But like Spence has, an explanation more that's like the generalization of it.
Yeah. What really I think a nerd is something, it's someone who is passionate enough about a subject that it just makes them... you just see a kind of brightness in them when they talk about it or when they're participating in it. And when groups of these people get together, it creates these amazing communities. And ultimately, that's what we want to do at Slypatch, right?
Right.
And that's what we want to do with this podcast. We want to bring people together and talk about cool stuff. And I think that's what a nerd really is.
Yeah, and for the majority of it, because there's bad seeds in every community, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But for the majority of it, it's those groups that you can be in where you feel accepted, you feel at home. Those are the types of things and feelings, like the words that I would describe for me. Like, when I'm with my friends nerding out on things, I feel so comfortable. I don't feel like I'm in like the real world at times, in the sense of how you're always, making sure that, this person thinks this about you, whatever. It's like, I don't have to worry about that, because all these people, we share this in common. And it gets away from like the things that we've talked about before, of where people focus so much on their differences instead of their commonalities. And it's like, well, when you nerd out on something, man, that's the great thing about that nerd community, is we get to focus on those things instead of the negative side. So
true.
Before we get into the warm-ups, I want to introduce you guys to our special guest this week. It's actually my lovely and wonderful wife, Christina. I do refer to her as Krissy, so you'll hear me call her Krissy throughout the show. We have her on because Krissy has such an eclectic taste as well. Like we've talked about a lot of the typical nerd stuff, the magic and the video games and things like that we do. But Krissy has a lot of other things. Like she's a Squishmallow collector. As you see her shirt, she loves Doctor Who. She reads a ton. Like I have pretty much a full library upstairs. Because of all the books that she owns. She's into crafting. She sings and she's into music, which we had the episode last week about music and stuff. She loves K-dramas and all this other stuff. So like she has so many different things that she's passionate about and nerdy about, that we wanted to have someone like that on to help talk about this subject, to help people understand that oh, I didn't realize I was a nerd for this, but I am, and that's okay. We want you to be. We want you to be a part of that nerd community. So this is my wife, Krissy. You can say hi to everybody. She'll be talking about some things here in a little bit. She's a little nervous because it's her first time, but, we're going to have fun, and you guys are going to learn a lot of stuff. And, hey, I might even learn something today about her.
So how are you feeling today?
How am I feeling today?
Yeah.
A little nervous.
Yeah, well, hey, that's what we're doing. So we'll go into today's warm up. Do you wanna start us off, Tyler?
Yeah. So mine's kind of a 3-part warm up in a sense. First and foremost, because our warm ups are about positive things. So first and foremost, I'm excited to have my wife on today. Like I've been looking forward to this episode for a while.
Sorry.
Secondly, and this is something I've talked about, it's a retouch on the subject, but it's, again, being, the owner of Slypatch and stuff, man, we've had 3 straight weeks where we packed every seat in the house on Friday Night Magic. And I remember back when we started in September, our very first F&M, we had like 12 people, and a couple weeks later we had like 16 people, and we're like, that's about half of our capacity at that point. And now we're to the point now where we're actually going to be moving cases out of the store to add another table just so we'll be able to seat people at Friday Night Magic.
And then you'll still have the extra table that we can put in the middle.
Yeah, we got the baby table that we pull out to the middle of the floor. But like the thing about that is like, as a store owner, man, it's so rewarding. Like last night, man, after I get all you guys set up and everybody starts having their game, like I take a moment for myself. I step back. I'm a smoker, so I go outside and I look through the door and I'm just like, this is why I do this. This right here, that's exactly why I do this, is to provide the community. So thank each and every one of you out there. As I announced last night I should say, at the shop, for those who haven't done it yet, you like, subscribe, comment on one of our videos, you get a free F&M entry. So that's a free $5 just for a couple of seconds of your time. And then the last little part is just a personal thing between me and my brother John. I've brought him up on the podcast before. I call him my brother. I have no biological brothers. I have a few people in my life that I call my brothers that are just like really close people to me. And John and I have been friends for almost 2 decades. And he'd been going through some struggles lately because his house burnt down a few months ago. Or not completely. It caught fire, like it's not livable, but it caught on fire. He's been living in an apartment that the insurance had been paying for. Wasn't sure what was happening with the insurance stuff, And there was a possibility that he's not going to get any of that money, stuff like that. And he's been paying on this house for over 10 years. That's a third of almost a quarter of his life at this point, right? And he got the call on Friday that they're going to pay him out, and he's going to be able to buy a new house, all this stuff. And I was honored and blessed that I was the first person that was not blood related. He called his mom, he called his dad, and then he called me, and he was just like, man, I had to tell you, and everything. And it was such a great moment to share with him, and to know that like someone that I care about is not struggling anymore and having to worry. So that's my positive, man. Johnny, I love you. You know that. So
yeah, if you see this, really happy to hear that from you. That's got to be a good feeling. Good feeling.
Absolutely. What about you, man? What's your warm up?
Well, I know I've been pretty open about my
mental health
milestones in my mental health, and recently I've been worried for most of my life, not worried, but like seeking answers on whether I have ADHD or not, because I do share a lot of the symptoms with other people I know who have ADHD, and so I went and I sought a diagnosis, and this is the 3rd time I've done so, but the last time was almost a decade ago. And unlike the last few times, they told me I do have some of the symptoms, but not all of them, and I don't have ADHD, but like I'm sort of borderline. But unlike the last few times, which, the last few times I was discouraging, it was like, we don't really have an answer for you, we're not going to diagnose you, there's no solutions to this.
But you're also talking about 10 years difference too, so we've had advances in understandings of things, so that's great. So now you've got an answer for something, right?
Yeah. So this time I have, even though it wasn't the diagnosis I was seeking, I do have an answer to the problem and a potential solution. And I'm not going to get into the details, but it isn't ADHD, and I don't technically have mental illness relating to those symptoms, but I do have an answer, and there is a medication that I will possibly be taking soon to fix the issue, which is very encouraging to me. So
yeah, and I mean, that's going to help you get to that normality that you're looking for. Like not your accepted normal because you've had to deal with it.
Yeah.
But the normal that you're looking for to feel like you don't have to deal with those issues. Man, I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you for that.
Yeah.
we had our own personal conversation on it, and again, don't have to get into details, but man, I'm just so proud of Spence for all the effort he's making and getting himself right. I mean, we talked about the going back to college. We talked about he went done this diagnosis, like doing so much work on yourself, because when you work on yourself, that just betters your life, man, and I'm so proud of you for that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I forget, did you have anything you wanted to bring up for the warm-up today?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, what is it?
This week has been less stressful. So,
Hey, that's awesome.
Today I had the spoons and a reason to put on a face.
That's
This
great.
face.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't get a chance to wear makeup a lot, and it's one of the things I like to do, and I like to
I think
explore.
it looks awesome. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely something. Again, it's another, like, I brought up the eclecticness of her nerdiness. It's like she also does amazing, like, cosplay and like FX type makeup. I think I even talked about it, I think, on one of the episodes where she made my brother Jacob look pretty. Because Jacob is actually a pretty masculine looking dude, but dressed him up as a woman, and he looked gorgeous. I was like, "Boo, you look so good."
It was a college assignment.
It
was fun.
Yeah, but it was awesome. So
That's really cool.
you've got pictures like that, which is really cool of that. So that's awesome, babe. I'm proud of you for putting the face on today. I mean, you're beautiful to me either way, you know that, but. But I personally, like, for me, it's a positive for me when I see you doing that, because it tells me, okay, she's feeling better today. So I love to see you do that. So.
I mean, I like my natural face, but
I do too. Hey,
I like to go crazy with
I got lucky. You know how sometimes you wake up next to somebody and you're like, whoa, that's not the person I went to bed with last night. With her, it's like, she's still gorgeous, and then she just enhances it for me. So I'm lucky. I'm a lucky guy.
not for me. Answer for me.
Oh yeah, it's for you, and I'm glad that you do it for you, not for
I
me.
was joking with
But what I'm saying is, like, I get the benefit from it. That's all I'm saying. But all right, so that's this week's warm up. So we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes.
Yep.
Which is our campaign of the week.
Going into today's campaign, we're talking about all things nerd outside of the stereotypical realm of things, which is, your video games, your board games, card games, what have you.
And there'll still be some mention to those types of things, I'm sure, because of reference. But, yeah, we want to focus on things outside of that. We want to talk about those things that maybe you're like, man, I wish there was a nerd group or whatever. Well, there probably is.
Yeah. And, thankfully, back when you were a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't necessarily have the internet and a place to like find other people.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like for you, like we were talking in our first episode, that was your local game store. That was
Yep.
really the only way you could find people like
That was
But
my
now, if you have this niche interest for something, you can go online and find people. I mean, there's people who, one of the things I think of that surprised me that I found out in recent years is there's like a massive community of people who like are super into trains.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
Like model trains, real trains. Like there are people who will drive hours to see a new train making its first trek on a train track.
I can speak to
and
that.
It's so weird to me, but like there's a whole community around it, and that's awesome to me.
And what's funny is I can speak to that because of where I'm from. So there's a song out about the Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Yeah.
Really?
There
It's a
is.
real thing, though.
Yeah, it is.
I was told to go see it when I went to Chattanooga.
No, they're really. So no, we still have it. So downtown, there's the terminal and station house restaurants and stuff like that. There's and they still have some of the original locomotives and old cars. You can actually go the old like cars that they used to have. They rent them out as hotel rooms.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's so dope. And then, like I said, like the terminal brew house is like a bar and stuff down there, and then the station house is actually where for prom. When I was in high school, that's where we went for dinner for prom, was the station house.
That's really cool.
And what was really cool, what's really cool about it, even more, because this is the nerdiness thing, and we were talking about music. Every waiter who works there has to be able to sing.
Nice.
And so,
Nice.
in between, and it's really cool because they have this setup where they're all covering each other's tables and helping out. And then, like, because everyone has to get up and sing in between. So like, you know, if my waitress is up there singing, you know, she's not gonna be able to help us at our table right now. But then like her friend or whatever comes by and helps us, and they're up there singing these awesome songs. And everyone that I've ever seen there was fucking amazing. Just I'm talking about, dude, blow you away. And actually, I told you how I used to sing back in the day. Like people were telling me, hey, you should go, because I used to wait tables back in the day. They're like, you should go, you know, try to work. I was like, dude, I can't do that. Like I was like, like I would love to, and I love music, and I loved serving tables at the time. But I was like, man, I don't compare to these guys. Like these people, like every one of them that I heard that worked there, like could have been a professional singer in my opinion.
That's really cool.
Like they were that awesome. Like I, you know, if anybody from there ever sees this, like man. I went there a couple of different times. I loved everybody there. It was awesome, man. Like
That's
so, yeah.
really cool.
So yeah, the train thing is like actually a thing, and because of Chattanooga having the Chattanooga Choo Choo, they have a convention there. You know, with that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. I like yeah, and it's funny because you're like you said, you're like, man, that just blows my mind.
Yeah, just like of all things, like to me personally, like trains are very mundane pieces of the infrastructure of the United States and of the world, but then there's people who are like, there's a new train coming out. I'm gonna drive 8 hours to go see this new goddamn train, and I'm just like, I want that passion for everybody. That's so fucking cool.
It's like stamp collectors.
I was gonna say there's little model train.
Oh,
You
yeah.
ever seen those?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you know
Some
the
of those
Metro
things are
Park
worth
domes?
Tons.
You know the Metro Park domes? When I was really little, I was probably like 4 or 5. They had a big train thing there,
Yeah.
and they set up like hundreds of like tracks all across the domes, and it was so like
It was awesome.
like as a little kid who's like not super into trains, that was like so fucking cool because like the attention to detail that they put into these massive models with just like big mountains and like little villages and cities and stuff with hundreds of trains going all around these giant Metro Park domes, you know. And so like trains just one of so many what we consider mundane things that people can be nerds for, right?
Yeah, and then so what I was bringing up was like, you know, like I said, like stamp collectors, or like your dad collects
Bobbleheads.
well, he collects the bobbleheads, but he collects coins too, right?
Yeah, that too.
So like coin collectors and stamp collectors and like there's so many things that you know that you can collect out there. For example, that's just, and that in itself is like, you'd think, you know, if I said collecting was a nerd thing, right? It's like, well, that seems very small, but there's so many different things. Again, Squishmallows, like your thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of newer. But that goes in the same aspect of like, you know, these Squishmallows are out, and like today, give you guys I got to be a hero today.
He's got to pump himself up.
I do. But, well, I got to be the hero twice this week though. Yeah, but I got to be a hero twice this week. So I secretly joined a Squishmallow group. Squishmallow, they're not my thing. That's her thing, you know. And I love that she has that. So I secretly joined a group on Facebook to look for, you know, postings of when these certain ones, because they have exclusives for all these different stores. So like Walgreens gets different ones. Five Below, Cracker Barrel, like all these places get different ones, right? Target, and there was a specific pair of these little Bigfoots that she wanted at Walgreens, and so like the one day that they had the stock over by our house really close, I didn't get there in time. Someone took them. You know, someone got them all, right?
Everybody wants them.
Very next day, I wake up because I joined that Squishmallow group, and someone posted that down in Franklin, so Franklin to us is about 20 minutes. 20-minute drive. Down in Franklin, they had some. Dude, I jumped up, I got dressed, threw on my clothes, I jumped in my car, drove down there. I was like, man, you know what? You know, there's a risk that, you know, someone else gets them before I get there. I get there, they had exactly like one set of the Bigfoots. There was also a set of ducks that one, you know, our friends wanted. So I got to get those on Thursday, and then today there's this little frog that she wanted. And
It's of my childhood.
oh, it's beautiful. It's
like for
has
frog
a little has a little crown and stuff. It's cute.
That's adorable.
It's adorable. But there's a Walgreens over by the shop that they happen to get their stock on Saturdays, and I found that out in my travels of trying to figure out things the other day. So I go over there, look on the shelves, no frogs. You know, I'm like, crap. You know, because someone had posted that there was some, you know, before, but their restock cart was still in the middle of the aisle. So I
wouldn't do it, but use all.
I started going through the cart, and like at the bottom of the pile is this one box that's unopened with the frogs in it. So I took that up to the register. I asked the lady to open the box for me. They come in a 3-pack in the box. I left one there because, I don't believe in like trying to clear them out or scalp them or anything. I wanted someone that might be looking for it to be able to come and get it. But I bought one for her, and I was like, I'm pretty sure one of her friends wants one. Which, by the way, another like backstory on this, as my shop's having a problem with the internet right now, so I had to leave my phone at my shop today for the hotspot just for the internet to work. So I'm phoneless. I can't get messages, stuff like this, right? And she wanted to message me to be like, hey, if there's more than one frog, get another one for a friend of hers. But I couldn't see the message. I didn't have my phone. But that connection, that love connection, right? I was like, you know what? I'm sure she has a friend out there that wants one, right? So I got 2. And I came home and I got to be the hero, so.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
How many times already have you heard him say that story?
Well, it's just
even
today.
though it was earlier today.
At least 3.
Yeah, at least 3.
At least 3.
Are you looking forward to hearing that another 3 times every single day for the next month?
No. You won't have to hear that. You won't have to hear that because
That's about it. That's about it.
Once today's over with, like it's like, I gotta have a new hero story.
You're gonna live that one out. You're gonna hold on to it as long as possible.
Okay. I gotta try.
I'm just giving you shit.
No, you're good.
But so one thing that I did want to mention is going back to that definition that you brought up earlier, there's a specific piece of that plays into what we're talking about today. To reiterate, it was to be or become extremely excited or enthusiastic about a subject, typically one of specialist or minority interest. That minority interest piece, right? So, like, being a nerd for, like, video games is really common now.
It's much more common, yeah.
It's so much more common than it used to be. Like, probably 1 in 3 people plays games on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, it's probably more than that, to be honest. Like, it's probably close to, like, if you, like, statistically, it's probably 1.5. Like, like they play some type of, thing.
Yeah.
Like, whether it be, like, games on your phone, like,
yeah.
When you talk about, because video games, is usually, like, linked to
consoles. I was being conservative, but, like, I would agree with you, too. Yeah, but, so, like, but going into, like, when nerds started being more colloquially used as, like, to describe, like, a social shut-in who, like, only likes playing video games or something, that's because at the time it was a minority interest, and it's grown a little bit past that. But like,
the stigma's definitely been lifted. Yeah.
The stigma and the word's been reclaimed by us, which I love. Like, I want to reclaim that word because it's something I am. It's something I'm proud of. But like having that minority interest, what people don't realize is that it can be so much more broad, like we've been saying. So like the minority interest in Squishmallows, or the minority interest in trains. Like, the train community isn't, like, the biggest community in the world.
But it's still huge.
But it's still significant, and the people in it are super passionate about it. And that's what really matters, right? Because one of the things we like to talk about in the podcast, and one of the reasons we do it, one of the reasons you open Slypatch is we want to create communities of people who can look out for each other, who can have fun together, who can be passionate about something that they share.
Yep.
And that's what being a nerd is. Yeah. Sharing a interest, whether it's minority or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. And so you look at the definition of minority, right? It's funny because, again, we're in a world now where it's close to 8 billion people, right? And things are considered minorities that still have massive groups of followings. It's like, because when you compare 7 million people to 7 billion people, well, that's still technically a minority, right? Because, the percentage-wise, it's not that big of a percentage. But when you think about 7 million people enjoying a certain thing, it's like, that doesn't, it's all about a perspective of what you consider it a minority, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's really cool about it is people can have these quote-unquote minority interests, but still have a large group of people. Like, if you go back, again, I'm older, right? If you go back to my era as a child, okay, where we didn't have the internet, we didn't have that connectivity and things like that, if we had like 100 200 people that were interested in something, like that was like considered a minority, at that point, right? But now it has exponentially grown to the point where, like I said, like there are millions of people who play Magic. There are millions of people who watch Doctor Who. There's millions of people who like the trains. And so even though it's considered a minority based on the number of people in the world, you're not as alone as you thought you were.
Exactly. And that's what's important about building communities, right? It's all about it's all about connecting with other people who share that interest and making something good out of it.
And that's the positive part of like our connectivity now through social media and things like that. There's so many negatives to it, as well. But one of the positives is like you brought up earlier, we can connect to people in the communities that we do have those interests in. And I don't know, so I'm going to defer to you on this because that's something that you've done. Like my wife is a little bit more introverted. She's not one of those people like I'm. It's they say opposites attract, right? So like as you guys know from my personality and meeting me, I'm very extroverted. I'll go out, like I'll say hi to anybody, stuff like that. Krissy's not that way. Krissy is very much introverted. She likes to stay in the house. Like she loves and her people that she's comfortable with. She, can talk your ear off for hours if you wanted to. But like for yourself, like you've connected more through like the social media stuff, right? Because like we even brought up, we talked about yesterday. Like there was a thing you got in the mail from like a group that you're in, right? Mm-hmm. So like tell us more about that, about like how that's helped you, and then like how like how, like if you had to guess, you don't have to have an exact answer, but if you had to guess like how many different groups you're in or like types of things on Facebook, like how many do you think?
Oh man, how many groups I'm in?
Speak a little bit louder for the mic to hear.
I know, sorry, I just holy moly, I'm in a lot.
Yeah, I mean probably more than 10.
Probably.
Right. So I mean that's the thing is like
Well, there's a lot of things.
Yeah. So give us an example of some of those things.
I'm in a fantasy group, like for fantasy books, and a lot of those have authors in it though, so that's cool because you can talk to the people who write these books.
That's awesome.
I'm in the Squishmallow groups. I'm in the K-drama group. I'm in, oh my goodness.
Still in the Buffy groups?
Yes, I'm in Buffy groups.
Yeah.
I'm in a Doctor Who group. I'm in a Loki group.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have these countless things like, that you can look forward to each day of like, being able to be like, hey, that's an interest of mine that I have that other people also have that I get to connect with them on.
Well, and I think with the groups, like, I think it helps, because I don't have to interact every day, so I don't have to have this booth, but I can always, like, click on it, and, like, no one's, like, trying to get me to talk to them or trying to, like, talk to me, but I can just scroll through and be like, oh, this is a cool meme about this, or this is an interesting fact about this that somebody wrote, but I don't have to actually, like, put my energy towards, like,
you
being
don't have
a friend and trying to keep up with everybody.
You don't necessarily have to engage. You can just watch.
Yeah, you can.
I like engaging.
You can be a witnessing party to it, but yeah, when you do have the spoons like you talked about, or the energy to engage, then you're able to do that, which is again awesome, from that standpoint. So.
But yeah, and the thing is, I have my own group of people that I talk to things about with, and I like to keep up with them. But when I get too many people, I have problems, like, keeping track of everybody. So with the groups, I'm not, like I may talk to them, like, a little bit and interact with them, but I'm not, like, best friends with them, so I don't have to, like, worry about the birthdays, and I don't have to worry about, like, if I'm gone for a week, they're gonna miss me. So,
yeah.
But we still can talk about the same stuff.
And, like, I can bring up, like, a specific example recently is, like Alana and Tim, right? Like, I've been friends with Tim. I recently actually didn't realize I wasn't friends with Alana on there. So I actually just became friends with her like yesterday. But I've been friends with Tim out of that one group that we met in. So yeah, for those who don't know, that's how actually my wife and I met. Is there was a group called Nerds with Vaginas.
Oh yeah, I know that group.
Yeah, and so I mean, it became
something else.
It became kind of defunct. We kind of branched off because there were some issues. But anyway, that was the original name of the group, and then it's become some other things since then. But that's how that's how we got to know each other. Was we were both in the group, and actually we got into a GIF war with each other back and forth. And then I made a comment about, or my last GIF or whatever was the Step Brothers one that says, "Did we just become best friends?" And she messaged back, "Well, not if you don't send me a friend request." And that's literally how we met.
That's awesome.
And so I sent her a friend request. We became friends. I fell in love with her and prayed that she was, fall in love with me, and she did. So, but yeah, I mean, but going back to Tim and Alana. So like, I realized, I've been friends with Tim on there for a long time. And what's really cool, and Tim, I hope you do see this. I'll probably even message you to let you know you're in the episode. But like, me and him don't talk on a regular basis. We kind of just barely know each other, because of the groups and stuff. But every interaction that I have with him is like an amazing interaction. It's so fun because it's about the things that we're nerdy about and things like that. Tim, for example, is like really big into Crocs. He loves his Crocs. Crocs and snacks. That's Tim's thing.
Snacks.
If you can feed Tim snacks, or find him some like really unique Crocs, he'll love you. But then Alana, you found out, has she doesn't have as many as you do, obviously, but she likes the Squishmallow thing and stuffies and stuff. Yeah, so you guys connected on that level,
Among other things.
Which among other things, exactly, which was really cool, And so it's like. But that's the thing. Is like if you guys don't talk for a couple weeks, it's not like either one of you are going to be upset, But you can come together at some point again and talk about things that you do like, and that's what's great about that is we can have those groups now where, because so again, and this goes into the psychology thing we talked about before, is we weren't originally meant to know that many people existed in the world. Like the fact that we know that many people exist, and the fact that we have so many people, so like. Scientifically, or at least from a psychology standpoint, you're really only supposed to have about 30 significant, like your brain can only handle like 30 significant relationships in your life, okay? And so like the fact
wasn't it like 200 like acquaintances?
Right, exactly. But like
Yeah.
I'm talking about significant, like actual significant relationships in your life, and then up to around like 200. So like we're like my friends list, for example, on Facebook, and I did a purge recently. I'm still at 700 people on my friends list on Facebook. Part of that's due to like having the store and stuff like that. But yeah, like we're not meant to have that many interactions, deal with that many people, and all those other things. That's why we're super stressed out, sometimes too. That's the negative part of Facebook that I was talking about, right, and social media. But because it also allows us to find the positives, that's where you just have to balance that in your life and have like, hey, this is my nerdy thing, and the positive part of and you just look at that. So. But yeah, so you're in those groups, which is really awesome. I know it's gonna be a hard question for you because I know how you are.
Oh no.
But you have a lot of different things, right? But like, what is your go-to like happy nerdism right now? Like, what is like the one thing? I mean, it may even be Squishmallows or whatever. But like, what's like you're having a bad day, you're out of spoons, like we talked about. You're coming home, and you are looking on there like. What's the first one? Like, do you go to a specific group, or do you just scroll through your feed and hope that one pops up, or is there a group that you possibly go to that's like, I need to go to this group and view those things because it's going to make me feel good right now?
Oh my gosh. It depends.
Yeah, I mean, you can give me like a top 3 or something like, but like.
Lately. Okay, so. Usually, I like the literature stuff. I usually read my webtoons or something if I'm... Like, I'll read a webtoon, because I haven't been able... I love to read. I haven't had enough time to read, like, a whole book in a while, which is really sad, and I used to go through books, like, one a day. So now I have webtoons, and they're shorter, so I can just read, like, 6 or 7 webtoons.
Yeah.
So I read some webtoons, and I'll sit in the beanbag chair, and
Thanks, Josiah.
I listen to music a lot. Lately I've been belting out show tunes.
Yes, you have.
I've been singing a lot of Wicked and Rent.
Hey, I love me some Rent. Like, Santa Fe is one of my go-to like feel-good songs for me.
Yeah. If I'm feeling super, like, anxious or a lot of pent-up, like, I will belt out show tunes because it'll get out a lot of just gets a lot of angst and everything out, and I can just
Oh, I feel that.
scream and.
As long as you don't go Demolition Man on me and start singing like the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, or
No.
are you too old, or are you too young for that movie?
I've seen the clips. But...
Okay, so Demolition Man was an old movie back in the '90s with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, and they get cryogenically frozen and then like woken up years later, and the only music on the radio is like the Jolly Green Giant or Oscar Mayer. Like it's all showed like it's all commercials,
Jingles.
like jingles. It's all jingles, yeah. And it's like that's their songs, and it's just like it's like it's playing on the radio. This is my favorite, and I'm like, what? But as long as you don't start doing that.
No, that's not me.
Yeah.
And talking about like how you go to like just belt out something to get the emotions out. I'll do that too. Like I really enjoy singing too, and when I'm like in the car or something and I'm like having a bad day, you know what I do? I turn on something like Metallica or Five Finger Death Punch, roll down the windows, crank it up all the way, and just scream it.
Yeah.
Just feels so good. Or like Shepherd of Fire by Avenged Sevenfold or something like that. And just scream it, and it's so cathartic.
Yeah, if it's not show tunes, because I like the show tunes because like Idina Menzel just belts out, you and it doesn't matter if it's on the right note. But if it's not show tunes, then it's my wonderful nostalgic high school emo bands, and
And so it's weird.
Good
like,
Charlotte and Yellow Card and Simple Plan.
I'm like on the opposite end of the spectrum with that, where like we joke about it, but like she's like everything you listen to is sad. Like so like that's my thing is like if I'm feeling down, like honestly, because like sometimes you just need a good cry. Like, I'm just telling people like that's just how it is.
Gotcha.
Like that's why I do that though. Is like I sing sad songs, that in like 3 verses or like three lines through the verse I'm starting to cry. And it's like I don't even say, I'm just choking out the words. Like you can't even tell I'm singing the song anymore. I'm just blubbering. Yeah, exactly. But that helps me feel better.
Yeah.
Whereas like on the opposite of the other days where like I'm listening to like my Ludacris and things like that that's hyping me up, right? Like those are the days where I'm actually already feeling good, and I just want to keep that boost going,
Well,
so.
Yeah, I don't listen to I don't have ballads. I'm not a ballad person. I'm lovey-dovey, and I'm not a sad song person. It's definitely because for me, it's I need to sing it or I need to dance to it.
Yeah.
And so it has to be upbeat-ish, sort of to dance to it.
Yeah.
And if I'm happy and I'm in a really good mood, I'm dancing. I will sing a little bit, but I'm usually dancing. And then if I'll sing the other ones.
Yeah. So again, this is a tie-in to like last week's episode when we're talking about music, which is really cool. So, that's the nerdiness on that. So like, so we talked about that and how those affect you. So let's get into some of the other things like you. So you're talking about webtoons. Like I'm not very familiar with webtoons. So like, can you give me a description of like what that is?
Webtoons?
Yeah.
I have no idea what they are.
Oh, well, I have an app. I have webtoons and I have tapas on my phone.
Are they like webcomics?
That's what it's webtoons, like cartoons and web.
Okay.
Well, webtoons is I think. Oh, I might be wrong, but I think it started in Korea.
Okay.
And I know a lot of the webtoons that I have been reading actually they became like Korean dramas and stuff right now. Like there's a couple that are out on Netflix that were webtoons. So yeah, there's just.
Do you have like an example of one? Do you know one specifically?
The one right now that just came out is like We're All Dead Now or whatever, I think.
Okay.
But that was a webtoon, or it still is a webtoon, but they just put it on Netflix.
But they transitioned it because of the popularity of it.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right?
True Beauty is another one, I want to say.
Yeah, but that's like, it started out as something like that some people would consider a minority thing, and enough people nerded out on it, that Netflix was like, well, we can monetize this, right? And we're going to make a show out of it.
Yeah.
So like that's really cool, and that speaks to that too, where those things that we think are minority interests, or that I'm probably the only person that I know that likes this, right? Well, obviously not, because then like you said, it turns into like a show. So That's what's really great about the nerd culture. And you're talking about reclaiming earlier. We're talking about that. It's like, a couple of years ago, when shows like The Big Bang Theory were really popular and stuff like that, like there was a lot of memes, but also like clothing even that came out. It was like nerd is sexy now. Like there was a whole thing. Like this is probably what I'm thinking, like 2015, 2016, when when it started to transition, was like it was sexy to be a nerd for the first time. Like, and I've been like, I was born in the 80s, man. So I went through the whole 90s, the whole early 2000s, right? Being a nerd was like, hi. Hey guy, it's like Steve. You think of Steve Urkel or something, right? From Family Matters. Again, that dates me. It's old school, right? But then it became sexy to be a nerd, and you had people like Henry Cavill, who.
Oh, I love that man.
He's like one of the sexiest nerds in the world, or.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He's better. I said one of. I was getting to JGL. I love JGL, right? But you got like.
I mean, Henry Cavill's okay.
You got Henry Cavill, okay? You got like Jason Momoa is also a nerdy guy. You have Joe Manganiello that we talked about, right? Yep. That's huge into D&D. And then you got people again like you're talking about, right? Like JGL, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who don't know, he was a child actor that has just been a megastar, at least in my opinion. He's one of the few celebrities I actually follow. Like I don't follow many celebrities because but JGL, I love you, man. He actually has a thing called Hit Record. And I'll promote it here. So again, I've talked about wanting to get into voice acting and things like that. So his Hit Record thing, they do voice acting, they do like writing small stories and things like that. I actually posted they had a thing recently of he asked people in Wisconsin to post a picture of in Wisconsin, and I posted my Slypatch sign. I was like West Allis, Wisconsin, to his thread. But yeah, like JGL, like he's awesome, man. He can sing, he can act, he's a beautiful human being, beautiful man, like.
I'm just going to refer to the entire cast of Critical Role because they are all gorgeous fucking people.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many people out there, that are nerds, and like I said, nerds are, being a nerd is sexy in a lot of, things now. Whereas, like, dude, if you just asked me that same question 20 years ago, like.
It was a very shameful.
Yeah, sexy nerd was like an oxymoron, right? Like, sexy nerd was just like. It did not exist.
Not even just 20 years ago. I mean, when I was in elementary school, like, and that was 05 through. That was like 7 years ago. Yeah, shut up, dinosaur.
wait, what? 2010?
I'm getting talked to from
the end of elementary school.
Yeah. I was 10 in 2010.
Babe.
That's when I graduated college the first time. Why?
Spencer's already young.
I keep forgetting.
If I'm a dinosaur, you're an embryo.
What?
I forgot. I had 2 things for my warm up. No. The day this comes out is my birthday.
Oh yeah! We forgot, guys.
I turned 22 2 days from now / today. When you're watching this.
Yeah, when it comes out. So.
Hi.
Happy birthday to you.
No. I didn't do that on your birthday. You don't get to do it on mine.
But you don't sing like we do.
Yeah, I do. You haven't heard me sing yet.
You should.
I didn't mean like, I'm not saying you don't sing well. I'm saying you don't, like, we like to sing and get it out. Is what I'm saying.
I do too.
Oh, so I didn't know that. Like.
We've talked about
it. I just.
Wow,
I just specifically said I'm not saying that he doesn't sing well. Like that. No.
I am the dwarf and I'm digging a hole.
I'm used to this with her. I do that with her all the time. Now I've got 2 people I gotta worry about. But anyway, happy birthday.
We got the same energy. Yeah, it's my birthday. But anyway, so yeah, I'm a lot younger than you.
I forgot how much though. Because I forget age. I have issues with my own age. I keep going, how old am I? I don't remember.
A number. It's a number.
But that speaks to this subject that and we've talked about this many times on the podcast before. That speaks to this subject, right? Which is, and I even talked about in the very first episode, is like, what other scenario would you see me being friends with a 21-year-old, right? Like, I just turned 38. I was 37 at the time, we started the podcast, right? I was, so I'm about 16 years older than you, give or take a couple of days, right? So it's like, I'm 16 years older than him. Like, by the time he got out of diapers, I was out of high school, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, right? Most people would be like, how are these 2 people friends? We're friends because we have so many things in common. not just magic and stuff.
Yeah, it's sharing passions. It's sharing things that we are both.
Yeah, and so that's exactly it. Like when I look at Spencer, I joke with him when we're in the podcast and stuff. But literally, anytime we're not doing the podcast, his age never crosses my mind. It just never crosses my mind because we have so many connections and stuff that it's like we're peers. We're on that same level. It doesn't matter.
And for me, it crosses my mind sometimes, but it also just doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are equals on the same playing field.
Yeah.
And, thinking about my experiences, much of my life has been, in school, and school is always very much like you have your peers and you have your betters, and your betters are always older than you, and it's weird to go into kind of the adult world where that's not necessarily always the case, but especially in our communities that we just share passions with.
It's funny you bring up school. Like, this year is my 20-year high school reunion. Yeah. I graduated in 2002, so...
I was 2.
Yeah, this is my 20-year high school reunion this year, And I bring that up because you were like, how most of your life has been school. It's like, yeah, to that point it is. But now at this point in my age of my life, the majority of my life has been out of school.
Yeah.
And so, it's really cool though that we can still have those, in being differences in life points and different things like that, that we still have all those things we connect on.
Maybe I can relate to that way too.
Hold on, you gotta speak up.
Maybe I can relate to that way too. Because I was like, you were just saying that most of your life has been out of school now, but I went back to school, I haven't been out of school for too long. I mean, I've been out of school for a while, but not as long as you have.
You said 2010 was the first time you graduated.
Yeah.
When was the...
Well, I went back in 2012.
Right.
And then 4 years, so...
2016?
Yeah.
So you've only been out of school for about 6 years now at that point. So yeah, I mean, that's where, even though you have the age gap with Spencer, right?
Well, I went back and I was with 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because I had to be a freshman again.
Yeah, so I mean, but that's the thing, is that you're not that far removed from it, so that's another thing that you guys connect on from that standpoint. And you can even nerd out about school. That's the cool thing about it too. Like, we're talking about all these different, subjects. Like, you can be someone who nerds out. Like, there are professional students.
Yeah.
There are people who become professional students. Like,
I would be one if it didn't cost that much money.
No. When I say professional student, it doesn't cost you anything. They get paid to be a student.
What?
Yeah. Have you never heard of this?
No. Can I do that? Can that be my job?
Sure. Maybe. We gotta look into it. That's fine. But yeah, like literally there are people who get paid to be professional students.
I like learning.
All they do, and part of the profession too is like they critique the professors and stuff like stuff like that. But
okay, so it's kind of like a secret shopper.
Sort of. Yeah, it's sort of is.
Secret shopper, but to find bad professors.
But yeah,
that's different. I just want to learn.
There are people...
one of my jobs when I was in college was long distance tech, which I'm not a tech person, but my job was just to go into the room, turn on all the mics, make sure they all worked, make sure the projector was on, and sit in the back and make sure nothing happened. Yeah. So in case feedback, someone couldn't see on it because it was connecting our site to 3 different schools, and so the teacher would be at our school, and then the other schools didn't have a teacher, so they had to go through with microphones so the teacher could hear, and if the feed cut out, I had to call somebody back, the feed's out, so I had to watch the class, and the first one I did was Introduction to Chinese, so I get to sit and listen to Chinese and how to Chinese 101. I did my work.
So then you get to learn something, which is
it was awesome. Fun. I was like, ooh, ni hao. I don't know nothing. But I had to sit and I was like, might as well take notes.
Kung Pao chicken?
Paying attention. No.
General Sauce? I don't know. That's my favorite, but
I don't know much Chinese anymore. But
yeah. Speaking of Chinese though, and this is way off subject, we're kind of on, but it also speaks to the nerdiness. It is. I'll have a point to it, but my friend Jeff Green. You've met Jeff. He does the consignment stuff, and his wife, Gabby, Gabrielle. We all went and did a hot pot at Szechuan, right across the street, from the thing.
I still haven't been there.
And it was super cool because, and I loved the experience because the way it is, because you're still cooking your food. Your normal sit down restaurant experience is you go in, everybody order, we talk for a little bit while we're looking over the menu, right? Someone comes up, takes your order. You sit there and talk a little bit more. Food comes out, and everybody starts eating, and the conversation kind of dies, because everybody's eating, right? But because of the hot pot, because people are cooking things and things cook at different times, and different food is done at different times, like the conversation just kept flowing, and we got to talk about all the little nerdy things that we like. Like, for example, Gabby and Jeff are actually in Africa right now because they travel the world and they check out different places, but they're also like great ambassadors for like teaching English and stuff to foreign people and everything. Dude,
do they teach Chinese?
Yeah.
I mean, English to Chinese people, not Chinese.
They taught English but actually, like, Gabby just posted today on her Facebook about how they swam with whale sharks out in Africa, really cool. Dude. Like, I was like, dude, that's dope. Like, there's pictures and stuff, and it was so cool, So yeah, I mean, and you could nerd out about traveling. Like, traveling is also a nerd thing,
Or food.
Or food.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I love food.
I'm a food nerd.
Do you think we love food, Spencer?
I think we do.
No, but I do. I just have fast metabolism.
Maybe you're just like, sorry.
Excuse me.
That's where most of your weight is.
That's not where any of my food goes.
This is where your weight is. I'm just saying.
That's not how that happens.
This is still safe for work, I promise. I tread the line sometimes, though. You guys know that. You guys know I tread the line. But anyway, food can be, like, I love to cook. I know we've talked about it before. Like, I love to make my own barbecue sauces, stuff like that. Being from the South, barbecue is a big thing, and so I love making sauces. Like, that's my big thing. Is like, I love to make a sauce because if you can make a really good sauce, like, don't get me wrong, there's certain cuts of meat like you don't need a sauce for because they're just so good naturally, right? But if you can make a good sauce and pair it with the right kind of meat, it's like, it's an experience just in itself of life. Like, it's just like you can look back on that day like, man, I remember back in July of 2022 that we had this barbecue out at Tyler's house, and God bless that. that blackberry sriracha, pork chop that he gave me was fucking awesome. Stuff like that. And what's cool about that is like my mouth's watering right now thinking about it. Like, I'm sitting there like, oh, am I gonna start drooling? Yeah. But like, it's cool because when you start remembering those things too, it's like you can remember the taste sometimes. Like, right? Like, when it comes to food, you're like you think about like.
Well, I'll tell you. To relate to this.
I was gonna transition to that. So, like, again, Spencer's birthday is on Monday. So Thursday, which is when we normally were recording before, Thursday, Spencer went to a birthday dinner at
Tofty's Table. It's in Waukesha. It is the best restaurant I've ever been to. I've been there 4 times now. I have a top 3. The other is the Gast House, which unfortunately is closed. That was also in Waukesha, right on the border of Pewaukee. And then another one out in Canadian side Niagara Falls called AG Silver Cuisine. But Tofty's #1, hands down. Best food I've ever eaten in my life. And it's a small plate restaurant. So what you do is, you go, you order entrees for the whole table, and you get a little bit of everything. And we had
like a Lazy Susan type thing?
No, they will just bring things out as they're ready. So like you'll order however many things you want, and they will bring them out as they become ready.
But everybody gets to try everybody's stuff?
Yeah, so like we were, as a table, we sat and we were like, all right, what do we want tonight? And we're like, all right, we're gonna get the duck confit tostadas. We're gonna get the wild mushroom risotto. We're gonna get the braised pork belly. We're gonna get the octopus. We're gonna get, and they just, as everything was out. And then, like, oh, this is the last dish that's out. Let's order more. And then they bring out more as it's ready. And so you get a little bit of everything. And they had, and so, you don't get a lot of each thing. But, like, they had this, like, blackened ahi tuna that, like, had the consistency of a soft steak. And it was just, oh.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so
good. Is it like
good.
A culture thing, or like is it like food wise?
It's not specifically cultured. I mean, they have things from different places.
I was just trying to figure out like the way they bring it out, if that's like a European thing or if it was like.
So, from what I've been told, it's called small plates. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just what they call it.
Yeah.
I don't know if like it's a specific style of eating from anywhere in particular.
Okay.
But that is what it is called. They call it small plates. And you order as a group, and then you get a little bit of every entree that comes out.
I know because America is just big food, everything's big, and
Yeah.
and when I went to Europe, everything was small and portioned and like. But I mean, it's you eat it and it's it fills you and it's good.
The difference in this case is we ordered 11 entrees that night.
Yeah.
So I had this fried chicken with this this spicy honey maple drizzle over the top. I had duck confit tostadas with this just melt in your mouth duck, and like balsamic vinaigrette over the top, and there was braised pork belly with bacon, jam, and grits.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is I gotta take you out to a birthday dinner.
Yes.
We haven't done this it's a shared birthday dinner, right? Because me and you didn't go to dinner for my birthday either.
Yeah, we should make it a thing every year. We'll go out for dinner for our birthday.
Our birthdays, yeah. So real quick, because I'm really big on like technical definitions and stuff. I like to give you guys information. So, small plates is a manner of dining that became popular in the U.S. food service after 2000. Small plates may may either refer to small dishes resembling appetizers, which are ordered a la carte and often shared, such as tapas, or to small courses served as part of a more formal meal. So yeah, when he's talking about small plate, so it is a U.S. thing, it looks like.
Okay.
Or it became at least popular in the U.S. after 2000. It may have...
Tapas is from something else, too, though.
Well, tapas is like...
It says such as tapas.
Yeah. But anyway, the cool thing about it is, like he's talking about, is like, that's a great dinner experience in itself, too.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the other things that they do at Tofty's, which is really cool, is if you have a bigger party... You can sit in their center table, pay $45 a person, and they will bring you chef's choice meals, 10 courses, and they'll just bring you food, and you sit there for 3 hours just eating. So it's really cool.
I've said this all the time, and you know this.
No, yeah.
It's like, I'm a buffet guy, but I don't get my money out of the buffet like most people do, because the reason why I like buffets is because I get to try a little bit of everything. I don't want a whole lot. I'm not trying to, and I'll only get 1 or 2 plates, but even my 2 plates are usually just just small portions of each thing, because I love to just have a bunch of different things. It's like, for example, there's times where I'll go to we'll be trying to figure out what we want to eat, and there's been times where it's I'll go to Taco Bell and get us a couple of these things, and then I'll go to McDonald's and get some fries, and then I'll go, I love doing that because I love just having these different types of foods at once. So dude, you're telling me about this, I'm watering at the mouth right now, because I'm
you would love Tofty's, because fundamentally what it is you sit down with whoever you're there with, and you just order somewhere, depending on how many people are with you. If you're with 4 people, they recommend 8 to 10 courses, right? Awesome. And you just get 8 to 10 entrees of whatever you want, and you just take as much or as little as you want.
We're doing this.
And it's so cool.
We're totally doing this.
I'd love to. Any chance I get to go, I'll go.
Let me get the internet issue fixed at the store first, because I'm literally going to have to be there every single day for my hotspot. But once that's fixed, and I can actually take a day off, we're gonna go.
You better make me come, because
I better what? No.
You better not leave me out.
Yeah.
I like food.
I'm saying we.
Also, they have
I love trying different things.
They also have really good drinks. There's this coffee liqueur, rum drink that they have that's really good. Right now they have a blackberry sangria that's on special.
I love a good sangria, dude.
Anyway, so we've nerded out on food and all the things
we wanted to give you an example of stuff. So that's the thing is and speaking of that, and I'll finish up. We'll finish up the food section, but again, I recently traveled back to Chattanooga. We talked about this in the last week's episode where I went to help Nick. I have a specific restaurant. You know this restaurant. Taco Mamacita's. Every time I go home, I have to go eat at this restaurant, or I do my best to. I don't get to every time because it's downtown and it's kind of on the opposite side of town where Nick lived. But I gotta go to Taco Mamacita's because they have. It's called the General Homeboy is the taco, right? It's a shrimp taco with this sweet Thai chili sauce that's on top, but. Whereas, most of your sweet Thai chilies that you think of are that red jelly looking.
Yeah.
No, this is a creamier base. It's a mayonnaise based. So it's a creamy sweet Thai chili sauce. Funny story on that. I went back, what was it, a year or two ago? Something like that. It was the time that I broke down in Indiana. So I go back home. I go to Taco Mamacita's, and I was actually driving my mother-in-law's car because I was trusting it better than my car at the time. And they didn't know that the battery was bad. Okay, I get all the way down there. I'm driving back. I get to like southern Indiana, stop for gas, and the car won't start. And it was literally just because the battery had died. But like also, dude, when a battery goes bad like that, it gives the most rotten egg, because it's sulfur, the most rotten egg smell. Like, oh, I was like, ugh. But anyway, I bought a full pint of, or quart. Which one's bigger, pint or quart?
A quart.
Quart. Sorry, quart. I bought a full quart of that sauce from the restaurant.
Oh, really?
To bring back.
Awesome.
Okay, which was awesome. Okay, but the car breaks down, and I didn't think about it. And I get all the others, like I get my main thing that I needed, which was my suitcase out of the car, stuff to go to my hotel. I had to call a tow truck, to come get the car. I left this quart of sauce in the car. This is summertime. Even in Indiana, summertime, like it's 90 degrees, right? And it took them like a day and a half or 2 days to fix the car. When I get back, because I had to have actually one of the guys from the mechanic shop came and picked me up in their tow truck and took me there. I get there, and they're like, hey, just letting you know, man, there was something in the back that was like in this plastic container. We ended up throwing it away, man, because it went bad, and it started smelling really bad. I was like, oh, my sauce. Because I had a refrigerator in the hotel where I could have kept it okay, but I didn't think about it. So, like, I bought this whole quart of sauce that I just loved, and I wanted to come back and, like, make something with, and it got ruined because, I broke down, but...
Oh,
yeah.
So sad.
But yeah, that's we can nerd out about food all day. Like, who knows? We may have an episode on food one day.
We will have an episode on food one day.
Yeah.
It's mandatory.
Yeah, and so it's getting a little bit later in the recording, so I just, I want to kind of, get moved towards our cool downs and things like that. But one of the things, in the comments, and we've talked to you guys about this before, we would love in the comments, man, like, tell us your like nerd thing that you think is like obscure out there that nobody is into, or even if it's not obscure, even if it's a food thing like we were just talking about. We want you to tell us what the nerd things are, because here's the thing too is we want to come off those subjects and make those subjects for the podcast. Yeah, like put them out there. Like even if it's things that me and Spencer aren't quote unquote into, that gives us a chance to learn about something that maybe we didn't know about. Yeah,
and there's going to come a time where, like, we're going to start running out of ideas, and we're going to have to pick things that we just aren't familiar with, and we're going to have a guest on, and we're just going to be like, yeah, we're going to sit you down, and you're going to tell us about this thing, because we have no fucking clue what's going on.
Or even if we don't have the guest on, we go and we go, hey, let's go research this together, and
and then
we'll spend that week between episodes where we record, and we'll
learn about it on our own, and then teach you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Or not even, maybe we're not teaching because maybe you know more about it. Maybe we're just giving our perspective at that point. You know, that kind of thing. So, is there anything, while we're still in the main campaign, is there anything you wanted to touch on? Or I know we were going to get into the cool downs. You're going to be able to talk about that stuff over there. I appreciate that you've been on, and you didn't talk a whole lot, but you're going to talk some here in the cool downs anyway. So
talked a little bit.
Yeah. So,
it's a conversation.
Exactly. There you go.
So yeah, let's go into this week's mains. And
this week's mains.
Tyler, you want to start us off with that too?
Oh, bro, I'm so excited about this one. So I brought it up. Was it last podcast?
Or was it? No. Last podcast was with Max, so it would have been the one.
But I might have brought it. Okay, yeah, I brought it up at some point. But I brought up.
We did D&D.
Yeah. Okay.
That before.
Okay. So I brought it up in a podcast recently that I've been out of the tabletop game for a while because of my schedule and everything like that, and so Bradley, who runs your Sunday game that Spencer goes to, he's one of the players that comes out to Slypatch as well. Comes up to me last night. I mean, it's funny because I'm in the middle of like doing a trade with somebody and doing some stuff. He's like, "Hey, were you serious about wanting to be in a campaign?" And I was like, yeah, I was confused at first, right? I didn't know if he was actually asking me, or he was just asking me for information, or if he was asking me because he goes, well, I talked to all my people, and we had a spot open up, and everybody wants you to come play. And I was like, for real? I started geeking out, right? I was like nerding out. I'm like, I'm trying to be in store owner mode while I'm doing this stuff, and I was like, wait, what? Seriously? You guys want me to come play? He was like, yeah. I was like, just let me finish this real quick, and I'll come talk to you. Just let me finish this. So I finish up what I'm doing. I come over, and and it's like he's like, of course Spencer, because you were part of it. Like, of course Spencer, wanted you to be there, but we wanted to make sure everybody was going to be, comfortable with it, whatever. And so yeah, I'm going to get to join my first campaign in like years. It may have even been a decade at this point. I honestly don't remember, but I get to join my first campaign. Not exactly sure the character I'm going to build yet. However, as Spencer knows, and I asked him last night, what the party's needing. I lean toward like tank and support and healing and things like that because utility. I love to be the person that's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to make sure that he does. So it's like if I can like stun you somehow and like maybe I only did 1d4 damage. All right, I only did 1 damage to you. He did 37, like that kind of thing, So I'm excited. I'm super excited for that.
I'm really happy to have you. I've been wanting to be able to play with you for a while, and so this is going to be great.
I'm super stoked. Actually, oh wait, they're over here on the table. Hold on, I gotta grab them. I have a dice bag and stuff, with other dice in it. However, I bought these a long time ago in anticipation. Okay, this is. Your typical D&D dice set, right? Which, comes with your D20, your D12, your percentile, all this stuff, right? And as you guys obviously know, my colors are black and red, Slypatch Gaming. So I've had this little set of dice right here sitting in the wings waiting to be, useful and rolled. However, as you know, as a tabletop player, my only fear is that this D20 is going to hate me, So, so we're going to do this real quick. We're gonna do an initial roll with this die. We're going to see how well this dice, loves us or not, right? So, average. I mean, it's average. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me whether it hates me or it doesn't. It's kind of like my wife sometimes. She doesn't know if she hates me or loves me. No, but I rolled a 10. So, it's average. Probably going to fail most things, but maybe it's not a critical fail, so that's good, It's not like the meme where it's like you go to push the goblin off the cliff and you roll a 1, so you just caress his back. you gently caress his back and he looks at you awkwardly. Have you seen that one? I love that. It's my favorite. So anyway, super excited. You get to play some D&D. So that's my main for this week. What about you, Spence?
Well, so something in our friend group that we often do is we will do a one-shot for people's birthdays on occasion, and usually the person whose birthday it is will pick sort of a theme or something, and then one of our friends will run it. And something that I've been wanting to do for a long time is I've been wanting to play or at least test the waters of what I like to call cyber fantasy, which is a mix of, the science fiction, cyberpunk kind of aesthetic and
which is still a video game you're playing right now, right?
Yeah. And then mix that with, like, high fantasy, like Tolkien or, like, normal D&D type stuff. And so so my friend Zach is running this campaign, and I'm really excited about it. It's a one-shot, so it's only gonna be one session long, but I have to read you the premise because the premise of this one shot is absolutely hilarious and it fits the theme so well.
While you're looking at it, I just have a question, and I'm trying to help explain to people, what one shots are. So, normally in a campaign, you're going to start at a certain level, usually level 1. Sometimes people start a little bit higher, depending upon whatever.
Level 15.
Oh yeah, right. But you start at certain levels, and then you gain experience through all of your, trials and tribulations throughout the campaign, and so you build your character. On one shots, it's just like you're gonna start at this level. Is this one level 15?
Yeah.
So they're starting at level 15, so they're like super powerful. You got all these abilities and stuff. But yeah, so that's that's kind of more the definition of like how a one shot compares to like a full campaign.
Yeah. The party works for Feyfolk Financial, one of 7 mega corporations in the city of Eisentor, as their representatives in the Grand Games. Their actions will decide which corp reigns supreme, as the games were designed to keep the peace between the corps by determining who rules the city for the next 7 years.
Okay.
It is such a nice blend of both of the themes of cyberpunk and high fantasy, and like You know,
Yeah.
you might have.
You said Tolkien, but it was like Gygax type stuff. You know,
Yeah.
Gygax was the one who brought up, you know, who just, you know.
And so, like, you know,
D&D.
we're working for a mega corporation owned by the Fae, and it's so funny to me, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
just so excited.
But tell us about this character, because, like, Spencer was telling me about this character beforehand, so I love this. Go ahead.
So my character, her name is Avery. She is a quad amputee in an electronic wheelchair. And she has a little bit of magic to her, and she's also really, really skilled in, like, technology. And she's blended that to, she's an artificer, an armorer. She's blended those things to create a suit of armor that, with just a thought, she can effectively sort of Iron Man herself out of her wheelchair into a big suit of armor. And one of the class features of the armorer says that the armor can functionally replace any lost limbs. So, even though she's a quad amputee, she's used her magic and her knowledge of technology to create armor that she can now walk and punch people with.
Yeah, so we talked about, it's a mix between Iron Man and Professor X type thing. It's really cool.
And so her whole deal is she doesn't normally walk around in the armor. She normally uses the wheelchair, and what she does is she's like proficient in persuasion and deception, and she's like kind of like a face character as well, and she pretends to be this unassuming girl in a wheelchair, and then all of a sudden she is like an 8-foot tall robot, and she just punches people in the fucking face.
Underestimate me.
Underestimate me, and then I will deck you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm just really excited to play this character. It's going to be so much fun.
That's awesome. And yeah, so I'm hopefully going to be able to make that with the way things are going with the internet right now. Maybe not, unfortunately, for the one shot.
Well, you guys are closed on Mondays, right?
We're technically closed on Mondays, but I mean, I may actually have to be there for Spectrum to come, do the stuff. So,
well, this is next week.
Yeah,
not this Monday.
Like
but
I'm going on like 10 to 12 days straight now without like an actual day off. Like, you know, but it's okay. That's part of being a business owner. Like, honestly, I'm not supposed to have a real day off anyway. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is on that. Oh yeah, dude, my wife, my wife. So Thursday nights we have the draft out at Boutonnieres.
Yeah.
And things got messed up with scheduling and stuff, partly because of me. Like, so Wednesday night, I came home. We had dinner together, and then, dude, I was like, I'm done. Like, I fell asleep on the beanbag chair at like 9 o'clock. You know, I wake up at 12:30 at night and cannot go back to sleep. I mean, could not go back to sleep. Laid there, did everything I could not go back to sleep until like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was supposed to open the store on Thursday. So I messaged Josiah, who usually closes on Thursdays. And usually Thursdays are slow, so we don't care. Message him, like, hey man, can you open instead? And then I'll come in and close, and I'll just close a little bit early, go to Boutonnieres and run the draft. Except that particular night, we had a group of people come in, like, oh dude, we're, like, I'm literally locking the doors. I've already put the stuff in my car, in my backpack and all this stuff. I'm ready to go. And this guy pulls in, this one of our customers, and is like, hey, I got a group of people coming to play Commander. And I was like, what? So she was supposed to go meet me out at Boutonnieres because we were going to have, like, some food out there and, a drink and whatever. I called her, I was like, babe, I need you at the store right now. And she was like, what? And I was like, I just need you to come to the store. So she came to the store. I showed her like two things on the register to be able to ring up, the basic things of like, you either scan it or you ring it up this way, like type in the dollar amount. Boom, And I had to leave her there and go back to Boutonnieres. And I went back and forth a couple times that night. It was like I had to go back to Boutonnieres to make sure that the draft was running. And then once it got running, I came back to the store, and then they left, and then I went back to Boutonnieres. It was just like, it was crazy. But yeah, my wife stepped up. That's the great thing about partnerships like that, man, is like, it's not her gig at all. She's not a retail person, but she stepped up for me and
since high school.
Yeah, but you stepped. But you did. You stepped up. Everything.
I made
was cool.
a sale.
Yeah, dude. She did. She took the money.
I messed up.
And then closed the cash drawer and didn't know how to reopen the cash drawer, but there's the slot underneath to like put things underneath the cash register. And she's like, I just slid it in the slot because I couldn't open the drawer again. She's like, I gave the guy correct change, but I was still holding on to his money, and I closed the drawer. So Yeah.
It's in there. It works.
Yeah, I mean, it worked. It worked out. It was fine. We found the 20 underneath. We put it in. It's all good.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's our mains. So what about you, baby? You brought some props. This is the first time we're gonna have props on the show. This is awesome. But you brought some.
It's just books.
Well, it's not just books. You got two things
No,
there.
that was for something else. But we can do that later.
No, you can talk about it.
No.
All right, fine. I'll talk about it real quick.
No.
No, let me see.
No.
Let me
Not
see.
allowed. Not
So
allowed.
look, my wife. No.
This
You're
was
already
gonna
done.
be if we needed to do it in
No,
the campaign, but the campaign's over.
It's already done.
You're
Here, we're talking about this.
butthead.
I'll let you get to yours in a second. So my wife, again, we talk about nerdy things. My wife's into crafts, and
You have to show it up there.
I'm
so they
about
can
to.
see.
I'm about to. So here's the thing. So these are comic book boutonnieres that my wife made, and this is actually this was my specific. Well,
no, that was Dad's.
Oh, this was your dad's. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, these are from our wedding. So when we had our wedding, my wife made comic book boutonnieres for us to have. Mine did have Thor on it too, though.
Yeah, but it was better.
What?
You gotta show them.
So I'm trying, but the thing fell off.
Well, let me do it.
I got it. So this one has like Scarlet Witch and Rogue and stuff on it.
That's my favorite.
This one has Thor and Loki and stuff like that. So anyway, my wife makes these, and she actually had requests from people like make an Etsy page, and do these.
I don't have time for that.
She doesn't have time. Yeah, she doesn't have time,
I
unfortunately.
make them because I like to when I have time.
Exactly. Yeah. She's not trying to monetize it, but she enjoyed it. So that's one of the things. But yeah. So what are the other props here that you got?
No, this is for what I'm gonna do
Yeah,
this week.
exactly. Yeah. So what is this week's mains for you?
I found these at Half Price Books, which is like
Your favorite?
my third home.
Yeah.
My second home was always the library, the public library, but my third home was like Half Price Books. I get lost in a bookstore, sorry.
I told you, library upstairs, guys. I'm not kidding.
I like English language and I like stories.
I love that you're into it. It's okay.
I just got these. This is Irish fairy tales, and then this one's Chinese myths, and I'm a big like any fairy tales and myths and like mythology and like stuff like, especially ones that are like not as well known, because like I know Greek mythology a lot, because
a lot of people do.
A lot of people
everybody
do.
Everybody knows.
It
Everybody knows that Zeus like to have sex with everything.
But I didn't learn about like Chinese mythology like in school, so I like to.
So are there things like Guan Yu and stuff like that in there?
There might be. I haven't actually like started reading any.
Well, again,
of these,
because of Smite, I know some some of the Chinese characters. So
I'm not as
or
on Chinese. I'm more up on Celtic stuff.
Like Hui and Shanghai and stuff like that. That
I know like the monkey god and like
Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What is that really?
Sun Wukong. Yeah.
Because that sounds Korean, but that's okay.
No, he's Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just that name sounds Korean.
Yeah, but Sun Wukong is the monkey god, and then Shanghai and Uyi are the moon and sun. They're husband and wife, moon and sun. So, yeah.
This one, though, I'm really excited for.
The world of lore, monstrous creatures. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a there's a podcast, and there's like on Amazon they made a show about it, and he goes around and goes like the places that have different like lores, like Bigfoot and all that stuff, and like different like Dracula, and like talks to people about
so it has
them,
like
and,
cryptozoology and all that
yeah,
stuff.
And it's not just like the mythology, and it's not just the fairy tales, but it's like.
Does it have the chupacabra?
It might.
Hey.
They might have done it, but it's also like the history behind all of it, and like how they got started and why, and I like the history behind things, and that's why I like vampires a lot, because I like to like people actually believed they were real, and they actually like learning about like their little vampire hunter kits that they made, and like why they thought like someone was a vampire after they were dead, because their nails keep growing and their hair keeps growing, so they thought they were still alive. So they'd go and try to like dig up graves and stake them.
It's funny because you talk about that, right? And so that's how it was, years ago. We were talking about this last night at the shop, actually, about how like thousands of years from now, when people would dig up our bodies, right? Because we have things like butt implants and breast implants and stuff, and like they're going to be like, "What the hell were these for?" Like, this person had built-in airbags.
Yeah. No, but I like to know like why and how things started and what certain things people thought when they
They're gonna think that people that had
told
like
these stories.
they're gonna the people that had breast implants are gonna think that they were like female warriors that like that was their extra armor or something like that. You know, I mean, we don't know. We don't know at that point because things get lost throughout history and translation, right? So it's like, English might not even be a thing at that point. But yeah,
these stories like keep getting added on and becoming bigger and like different things. Like I said with the vampire, like now they can fly and.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like in 4022, like, what are they going to think about us, right? So, that's our mains for this week. Here's the thing, we like to close the show a lot of times. We'll talk about some things. The biggest reason, one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons we want to have this episode, and it's just an overall concept of our show, like we talk about, is we want all of you guys to know that it's cool to be passionate about things. It's cool to have a love and a desire to be around like certain things like that.
Yeah, and don't let people take you down a notch for that.
Nope. There are certain things that aren't morally right, that we don't agree with those. That's not what I'm talking about. But dude, if you're into vampires or, dude, I mean, there's people who are so into vampires, like they get the teeth changed, stuff like that. There's like the snake guy that turned his whole body, body modifications, all that stuff. That's a nerdy thing too, like tattoos. We talked about like tattoos before. Tattoos are addicting, dude. Exactly. Like there's a whole nerd culture when it comes to that. So like there's a million things that we could probably talk about and bring up. And at the end of the day, we just want you guys to know that like we want you to enjoy the things that you enjoy. What's up?
I was just thinking to expand on that.
Just talk about. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Enjoy what you're doing. Also, don't be afraid to to enjoy it, even if you don't know everything about it. Like I said, because the whole gatekeeping and
gatekeeping is
the whole
if
you don't know everything about this thing, you're not a fan. Like, no, that's not cool. Like, you can know a little bit. You don't have to know everything upon everything.
It's like feel free to enjoy Lord of the Rings, even if you don't know that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe in that one scene.
Right.
Like if you didn't know that, that's fine. You're allowed to be a fan.
Yes.
And
even if you don't know the things that were in the books that got left out.
I've never read any of the original books for Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Silmarillion, any of that.
There were a couple of characters that got, are like Doctor Who, yeah.
I started with the 10th Doctor.
Me too.
Have not been able to go back and watch before the 10th Doctor, but I'm still a fan.
Wait, and you're allowed.
Was the 10th Matt or?
No, the 10th was David Tennant. No. Sorry, I started with the 9th Doctor. Eccleston. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
The 10th is my favorite, and I keep forgetting that Eccleston was I started with the 9th Doctor.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
And then you had Tennant, and then
he was only on for one season though.
Yeah, but the point is this, and I'm glad I'm really glad that you brought up that point, is that, like Spencer said, and I'll reiterate it, but I'll expand upon it, is, don't be afraid to enjoy something, and not be an expert. You do not have to be an expert on a subject to enjoy it. And because there are like fringe things of mine that I enjoy that, I just know a little bit about, but it's enough that I enjoy it.
Yeah. It
doesn't mean unfortunately don't have the time or energy sometimes to delve deep enough into it. Doesn't mean that I won't at some point. And also, anything that you get into, you're not going to be an expert on when you first get into it. And so, the gatekeeping thing is stupid because, how are you going to get to the point where you do know those things if you don't start somewhere? You got to start somewhere. So start with whatever it is you enjoy, and then learn the things that you need to. You don't need to know that Viggo broke his toe and things like that.
Sometimes it's fun.
Yeah, it is cool. It's cool to know those types of facts sometimes, but
you don't have to.
But here's the thing: it's cool to learn those facts as well.
Yeah,
and you're just as cool, when you get to learn those things. You're like, it's like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, there's been plenty of times where we're sitting here, like today when we're talking about your webtoons and stuff, right? It's like. That's something.
I'd never heard of them until, I'd heard you talk about them a couple of times,
right.
But I didn't know what they were.
But it's something where it's like, after the show,
I've still never seen a Squishmallow.
Yeah.
You'll have to show me.
You've been in my living room.
That doesn't mean I've seen them.
All those stuffed animal things, those are Squishmallows.
I didn't know you had stuffed animals.
You were on
no.
You've laid on my beanbag chair and been on my hippo before.
Yeah, so
You're
like
a-
it was there. That doesn't mean I saw it. Like,
It's okay.
Like the thing is,
we're
yeah.
direct.
Yeah, I get what they're saying, but the point is this: is that I love to find things in common with my wife, for example. So, and I said something earlier about I'm going to learn something, right? After this episode, which unfortunately I got to go to work and then come back. But once I come back home tonight, I'm going to lay in that beanbag chair with her. I'm going to be like, hey, babe, you want to show me some of those webtoons that you're talking about? Like, and so maybe I can get into
Does
them.
that mean you're
talk
not
about
coming to Moe's tonight?
Wait, what's at Moe's?
Oh, I'm celebrating my birthday tonight.
Yeah.
At
What?
Moe's downtown.
I
Yeah.
didn't know this.
He was supposed to tell you,
Yeah.
but
Well,
he got home like mega late.
yeah,
so.
super late.
When?
Tonight.
Tonight.
Time.
I'm probably gonna get there around 8.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully I'll be back by then. So
I can
yeah.
show you webtoons there.
Yeah. I might not
Comes
be
with my
there.
phone.
I might not be there when it first starts, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be there till bar close. So.
Yeah.
And even though none of you are going to see this in time, I hope to see you there.
So
It was open then.
guys, girls, and everything in between. We love you guys. I say you guys because this is how I refer to things. But we love you all. Thank you so much for viewing our podcast.
Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe.
Yep, and we'll see you next week.
You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time, friends.
And there's an awkward pause because I gotta hit stop recording.